Hello and welcome to a Friday night special of the Scotland Rugby News podcast with me, your host, Bruce Aitchison from Happiness Egg-Shaped, and him, the editor from Scotland Rugby News, the one and the only Mr. Gavin Harper. Hello, sir.
How are you doing?
It's been an interesting week, my man. There's voting issues. There's a massive weekend ahead because I can't believe what happened with democracy this week. Sam Quick got voted out of Strictly Come Dancing, having done an American Smooth, Taylor Swift, blonde hair. Like, are you kidding me on? Voted out. What are the public doing?
I did wonder where you were going with that. I'm glad we're on Strictly and not American politics.
Has something happened in America?
Not that I think is worth discussing here.
Right, okay, yeah. So, folks, it's a massive weekend, right? It's a huge weekend. We've got in Strictly because he's doing it for us kind of larger lads that are follically challenged. So, Saturday night, Strictly, please make sure you vote for Win. And he's a good guy. He's a big Welsh rugby man. Vote Win. This is what you wanted me to start with.
Not quite sure we're on the same page, but
okay,
let's segue back into rugby.
Right, let's turn the page. Let's not mess about. First name on the team sheet, Tom Jordan at 15. Has he ever played at fullback before? He's a rugby player. He's a very good footballer. First game, do you know what, son? We're going to put you at 15 against the Springboks.
I mean, sink or swim, mate. I asked him last week. We spoke to him after the Fiji game, and I asked him if he was quite comfortable at 15, and if he'd played there much, and he kind of almost nonchalantly said, "Yep." And that took me a bit by surprise. So when I went back in the press room, I had a quick scan of some stats that I could find, and I'm really hoping that Kevin Miller can find someone to tell me otherwise, because I couldn't find a game where Tom Jordan had played at fullback from the start. I know he'll have covered there in games, but you remember during Adam Hastings' first stint, he played fullback at times when Tom Jordan kind of first came into the Glasgow team. So, yeah, I mean, what a baptism of fire. You know, he did well last week, but let's not pretend that last week and this week are anything like the same challenge.
It's obviously, well, not obviously, it's likely been forced with Darcy being unavailable, because you would imagine the back three would have been Blair, Duan, Darcy, with Tom Jordan on the bench because he's versatile and can do many things. So hand has possibly been forced. I don't know what it says about the other players that are around. I'm a bit sad Blair's on the ding-a-ling because he's been so good at fullback. But there must be a plan. Does Tom Jordan get himself in at first receiver a lot? Is Blair now able to go roaming and find some spots without maybe necessarily having to be the man in charge of covering the backfield? I mean, Gregor I think there's something going on.
I think yes, but I think also it's with the fact that, you know, South Africa have picked a team that suggests they might put the ball in the air a fair bit. Andre Pollard at 10. So, you know, I think no matter how much people talk about South Africa expanding and looking to play this attacking style, look, if it becomes an arm wrestle, which it could very well, and I don't think we're coming out of that.
We're going to play a really expansive style with 7 forwards on the bench.
Do you know? In fact, Razzie today was talking. I was at their press conference, and Razzie said, "I actually want to see what happens if we're challenged when 2 or 3 of the backs go down injured." And I know we joked about it just before we came on, but could you imagine a centre pairing of Quagga Smith and Sia Khaleesi against Hugh Jones? And you know, like, it probably, it won't, I'm not saying it would take something like that, but something like that could play right into Scotland's hands. I think conversely, look, back to the Kinghorn thing on the wing, that's definitely part of it, is the kicking game. You also get another decent boot in the team with Jordan at fullback. I think Kyle Rowe's injury also plays a part. I think he would have come in had he been anywhere nearly fit. But Gregor said today that it was just kind of come a few days too soon. I think he's back in training, but not quite up to speed. And that's, I suppose, saying a lot after, it didn't look good for him last week. But I think it would be naive of everybody to expect that Scotland will go into this and try and almost out front the box. I think there'll be a few tricks up the sleeve, and perhaps the Tom Jordan into first receiver, Kinghorn and Roman off the wing is part of all that.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how it works. I do also wonder, we're getting to a stage now that I'm not sure in my rugby lifetime we've necessarily seen that, you've heard it before, it doesn't matter what numbers on your back, you're just a rugby player and that. But now you've got scrum halves playing on the wing and centres playing at fullback and 10s playing in the centre and centres playing at 10. Tom Jordan, we all thought was a centre, yet he's the URC winning standoff. He's now at 15. Hugh Jones has played all over the place. Like I now begin to wonder if it's mattering less and less.
Yeah, and I think you've seen that particularly with the Springboks over the last 12, 18, 24 months. Like they picked 4 scrum halves in the World Cup squad. They, I think, had them all in one match day squad. Grant Williams, who's on the bench on Sunday, will cover 9 and the wing. Keenan Moody will cover the midfield. Willie LaRue's their cover at 10. So it's so fluid now that, it's a bit like the kind of Man City attack where without Haaland, you almost play that sort of false 9 and it could be any one of about 3 or 4 players.
Hang on. Hod the bus. I'm getting stick for Strictly Come Dancing, and you've turned into Alan Shearer in the BBC studio being a pundit about Man City playing a false 9.
Sorry. We'll go back to talking about Hibs.
No, let's not do that. Yes, let's not do that. The bench for the Springboks, 7 forwards, but you could lift that and they could start and nobody would have batted an eyelid. You wouldn't really, maybe not quite true, but that's outrageous, that bench.
It's like, it's frighteningly good.
Most of that bench would get into most other test starting 15s. Because Pieter-Steph du Toit, so many people say he's actually the best player, but he's not Sia Khaleesi, he's not Binarji, he's not Estevez, he kind of just gets on with it. But there's so many people would pick him first.
It's less than an hour now until the All Blacks kick off in Dublin. And if they were, if they had the luxury, 4 of those players start in the All Blacks team. Malcolm Marx, RG Snyman, Sia Khaleesi, and Pieter-Steph du Toit are all, and now you're talking about New Zealand. And South Africa have got this luxury of saying, do you know what? Malcolm Marx can sit on the bench, Bongi and Banambi starts. And really interestingly, Razzie said that a big part of the reason that Quagga Smith's at number 8 is that it's not about, what he brings. It's his 50th cap. And when he runs out to lead the team out, they don't want him then sitting on the bench. So it's almost a reward that everybody will start their 50th cap. In an international match, that's such a luxury. But when you look at having, Sia, Pieter-Steph du Toit, Jasper Wiese on the bench, it's little wonder they can do things like that. That's depth that, even the best. You talk about the All Blacks teams that won World Cups, even they didn't have teams like, squads like that.
That I find it frightening, and I know we've now just pretty much focused on the box, but it scares the living daylights out of me. Like I I know there's always a chance, and Scotland are a good side, and we've got some very good players and potentially a couple of world-class players in Russell and Kinghorn. But I mean, that to say, oh, Bonky, you're getting to start this week. I mean, he wants to start. He's a test hooker. I hope he dances. I hope we get to see a bit of his footwork, because he's
strictly again. Is this?
Well, imagine him on it. That would be genius. The backs, like, talking about playing expansively, they've got that in them. Like, there's enough there. I do wonder if we're going to be able to sit and watch, and even folk with as little knowledge as me being able to go, like, they're going to keep it really tight. Nothing's really going to go that far. They're going to kick, but there's going to be a point surely where they cut loose and have a go. You didn't play Moody on the wing and think he's not going to get a shot at the ball.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've really, and that's something that they've, folk who remember the Springboks, who maybe haven't seen the Springboks since the World Cup, I think will be surprised, because they have really cut loose. They've brought in Tony Brown, the New Zealander, and what a difference he's made to their attack. And look, as you say, you don't have Andre Esterhuizen's sort of ball carrying ability at 12, and then Makazola, Mapimpi, and Keenan Moody on the wings, and decide you're just going to kick everything. I think they will play more rugby than we probably have seen them do in the past. But again, if that doesn't work, they'll just revert to type with the monsters up front and that ridiculous bench. And if you're Scotland, I know Gregor's gone for a 6-2 split, which is probably a wee bit more conventional, but you're going to have to. There's probably some players in the Scotland team that you're thinking already, okay, we might need 80 minutes out of likes of Xander Fagerson.
Xander's playing 80. Unless something happens, Xander's playing 80. I think Dylan Richardson, Rory Sutherland will both get on and have to get on.
I think that's interesting. Sorry, just to interrupt. I think that's a really interesting point, because he's obviously got two specialist back row on the bench in Bayliss and Jamie Ritchie. But depending on how the game plays out, the fact that Richardson can play hooker or in the back row might be a factor. And then, it'll be interesting to see how, if that comes into Gregor's thinking at all.
There's obvious substitutions there. Richardson, maybe not. But Sutherland, obviously, for Pierre. Max Williamson, likely for who? Cummings or Gilchrist?
Yeah, I think one of the
So, but then that back row, Rory Darge potentially runs himself into a standstill. Matt Fager, I would be interested to see if he uses Richardson as a hooker, which I think he might have to, because Ashman's got his work cut out.
Yeah,
who does he take off for Josh and Jamie? Who's the one that sticks? Is it a case of the data for the strength and conditioning saying that Dempsey's the one that's the freshest, we're keeping him on, or have they got an idea, right, Matt and Rory, you go for it, Jack, you're playing 80? I doubt they've had those conversations, but I do wonder. And then on the bench, I was talking about Dobie, and I think when we said this, if it was a 6-2, you're likely having Dobie because he gives you a bit of cover. I am interested by Stafford being on the bench, but that comes back to that point I made. Maybe it doesn't matter what numbers on your back, because it would probably mean Kinghorn to 15, or there's, if Stafford comes on, he's unlikely to come on as a direct replacement for Sione. He might just come on for Hugh Jones, but other than that, it's going to probably take two moves.
Yeah, but I think what you can, looking at that Springbok midfield, Esterhuizen and Am are both pretty physical, direct. So if Scotland are still in the game at 50, 55 minutes and decide, actually, we want Stafford alongside Sione, it's not out with the realm that Hugh Jones finished the game on the wing at the weekend against Fiji. So, he could bump out a spot. But look, it's fascinating. There's so much to it. I think I said that in a tweet or an X post, whatever I'm supposed to call it now, that there's so much to unpick from these two teams because, like, we could still talk for another 3 or 4 minutes about the Van Staden, Elric Lowe, Quagga Smith at 8. How does that match up to Fagerson, Dards, Dempsey, Jaden Hendricks at 9 for the Springboks? You know, probably not as renowned a kicking scrum half. So again, does that say they're going to play more through Pollard, or does it say they're going to have a go?
I reckon I could kick out the back of that pack. I reckon he's got a cigar in this hand and he's got a wee glass of something in this hand and he's got a nice comfy armchair.
Do you know, it's funny you say that because I actually watched the World Cup game from last year and Scotland caused the Springboks a fair bit of bother in the first half, particularly at scrum time with Zander and Skuman. So yes, I think that is the perception and certainly the prediction. But I think the two starting teams are well matched. It's when South Africa decide to deploy that bomb squad, if you like. I actually heard somebody earlier refer to it as the nuclear squad, and I thought that was probably quite apt.
Do you know what I wouldn't have put past Razzie? And he probably got a bit of Roddy Deans will be telling him how to work Sunday after the wee chat this week. But I would love to see Razzie just line up 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 and go, right, lads, 7 off, 7 on. Like, can you imagine that? Like, it would just be one of those unique things that pretty much only Razzie's ever going to do.
Don't put it past him either. 5 or 10 minutes into the second half, and let's be frank, there'll be a few South Africans inside Murrayfield, and that will get them on their feet, and you could well see the whole lot of them sent on in one go. Though I genuinely wouldn't be surprised. But again, I think it's and this is where the influence of the coaches and stuff comes in, because it's then all about how Gregor and the Scotland coaches counteract that. Do they have to, are they reacting to what Razzie's doing, or are they proactively saying, no, we'll stick to our own plan? I think it's that tactical battle off the pitch will be fascinating.
Yeah, the first chunk of time is going to be, it could be, a South African back gets an HIA, somebody gets a yellow card, and all of a sudden you're looking at a forward filling a slot in the back line or something happening. I'm intrigued to see Ben White, because he carries a threat, and he's got an eye for his try line. He's a smart rugby player. He's kind of been out of our vision because he's gone away overseas to play. And Finn will be lapping this up because there's not really been a lot of chat about Finn. And I reckon he's probably thinking, right, hang on, everybody's watching Lions next year. There's a bit of muck flying down at Twickenham. Our island's going to have a starting 10. If you're going to do it, this is the one to do it.
Yeah, and when Razzie called him the conductor of the orchestra earlier, I think that, look, Finn has kind of flown under the radar in the build-up a wee bit to all of this, in the midst of not being able to play last week, losing the captaincy, but this is one of those stages that's ready-made for somebody like him, somebody like Sione. They will be relishing this challenge. I think where Scotland need to improve or play differently than they did in the World Cup game, again, having watched that reasonably recently, they tried to keep the ball all the time and just found absolutely no way through the blitz defence. So it'll be interesting to see what they have come up with to check that blitz, whether that's going over the top or going right through the middle. But you know,
we've now got Tom Jordan can kick, King On can kick, Finn can kick, Ben White can kick. So you've got 4 reasonable boots in there.
Yes, and I think one of the important parts of that is, you know, like everybody's talked about Sione's kind of ball carrying, but Sione's short kicking game could be really, really important.
When you're talking about blitz, if you've got Sione putting it on his boot or Hugh Jones putting it on their boot, and then who knows the bouncer rugby ball. And, you know, we've spoken for just over 20 minutes, so we've never mentioned Duhan's name.
And the comments from Andre Esterhuizen, I'd rather have 18 caps for my own country than 70. You know, that should be all Duhan's motivation. It should be all Per Schumann's motivation and all the other players who maybe want to.
And I know what you mean. I'm not sure that players are built like that now. That kind of, you've written their team talk, you know, Joe Marler, or you've written the All Blacks team talk. I think the All Blacks gave a rat's ass what Marler had said they were going out with. He didn't change any. He didn't hit him any harder. You've not got any cheap shots.
No, totally. But I think you're. It certainly adds to the motivation, and it adds to the kind of drama around the game, doesn't it?
And 4:10 Sunday night is probably lights off, build the atmosphere, get everybody excited, you know, and that's one of those things I'm still never very sure about, but you hear people saying they love playing at Murrayfield. You know, opposing players will say they love that, it builds them up. But Scottish supporters definitely love it, that atmosphere. And let's face it, at that point, we all think and know we're going to win. So it's a brilliant period of time, that from when the players come out and line up, and the piper and the a cappella and the light, and then the ball gets kicked off and everything changes.
But there is, you know, there's very few places like it, and.
Yeah.
And Razzie said today that he thinks that the aura of Murrayfield is a bit of will be a factor. You know, I think when you look at some of the players in the Springbok, there's absolutely stacks of experience. But if it gets to Jaden Hendrickson, if it gets to Kane Moody or Elric Lowe or Thomas Dutoy, there's plenty of guys in that team that will be able to kind of guide them through a game like this. But, you know, it could have a factor, and I really, really hope, you know, we talked in the pod that we did with Rob about his book, about the kind of special days at Murrayfield, and I really, really hope that Sunday is one of them.
100%. If that, again, a win against this lot at this time would be massive. Looking at that Springbok team, you wouldn't fancy their food bill, eh?
No, definitely not.
Right. Salads definitely do not win scrums with this lot. Yes, like they are not just whole chicken eating; they are like whole flock of chickens eating.
I did actually see somebody today who now you've said that, looked like the Springbok team chef in the team hotel.
Was he stressed?
He did look quite stressed, I have to say. I think it was the team day off, and I think a few of them had headed out. So I think he was taking advantage of some well-earned rest.
Can you imagine the boys in Nando's? Like, that's like,
you might as well just shut the shop.
I clear the decks. We'll just keep it coming. We'll just keep it coming.
Never mind the chips.
I bet a couple of them are lemon and herbs. So some of them will be lemon and herbs. So some of them are not going full blown.
Shall I ask Etzebeth tomorrow if he's a lemon and herb Nando's man?
Aye, definitely. I reckon RG Sneeman. I'm calling him out right here, right now. RG Sneeman's a lemon and herb kind of guy.
RG Sneeman was sitting for about half an hour on a couch and beside me today, and I actually wondered.
Did he fall asleep?
If he was, funnily enough, no, we didn't start speaking. He had more interesting company than speaking to me. But he's just enormous. He's possibly and actually, do you know, you talk about the team, but like Dwayne Vermeulen's one of the coaches, and like if they wanted to go 8-0 on the bench, he could still do a job.
And come on then, call it. What's happening? Call it.
Well, I did a video earlier in the week for a South African publication, and I said the box by 10. So, in the interest of fairness, I'm probably sticking. And now, having seen the teams, look, I can't look past that. The power of that Springbok bench, I think, just takes them away in the third and fourth. And late in the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, I think they'll just pull away. So, I'd love to say Scotland by 2. I think South Africa by 10. But I would love.
Head
to
says South Africa by 10. Heart says Scotland by 2.
Yeah, but I'd love to be on here early next week, and you remind me of that. And
if Scotland win, we'll be on here live for Indigo Yard on Sunday night.
Yes, we will. Yes, and we will be live probably until I meet you in Indigo Yard.
It is just.
We've had a comment from a South African that says Jaden Hendrickson seems to be getting the leftovers as far as the food goes. And I think
TJ, you're my man.
Accurate.
TJ, tell us where you're watching from, my man. TJ, watch this. He'll say Morningside.
You guys sound hungry. I think
I'm always hungry. I'm always hungry. I've started. I didn't have meals anymore. I just graze. I just eat all the time. I feel like I'm living at a buffet.
This feels like a bit like a therapy session now, Bruce.
Oh, it's always therapy for me. It's always therapy for me.
TJ's back. TJ's back. Overbeg. Betty's Bay.
Oh, I love Betty's Bay. Good on you, Betty. Or if it's Sunday, Elizabeth's Bay. You can have that one for free.
Thanks.
How good's that? We're all the way over in South Africa. I didn't even think folk listen to us in Scotland, but we've got listeners in South Africa. Maybe we should branch out and do a specialist South African edition.
Yes. Let's think about that. Let's put that on the back burner.
Did I ever tell you about my time in Cape Town?
Probably. You'll have definitely told
but you
somebody.
weren't listening. You and RG Sneeman were asleep on the couch when I was telling that story. He'd be some nap buddy. Yeah? Can you imagine being his nap buddy? Like if he's got his arm over the top of you, you're not wriggling out of there until he's awake. Until the beast needs fed, you're not getting up.
This conversation has taken another strange turn.
But they're just there's so many guys, and like Sia Khaleesi's obviously like monumental. Estevez is just unreal. Bongi's dancing. Ox Salas didn't win scrums. Peter Steph du Toit, possibly the best player. And Pimpy, after watching Chasing the Sun, and Razzie crying about his. I mean, that story. I sometimes watch that and just the hairs in the back of my neck stand up and my eyes fill up with tears. I mean, what a story, and that's one of those things you hope keeps happening in South Africa, that guys like him and Sia Khaleesi can climb out of something and into something better. I hope it goes kind of without incident. I hope there's no moaning about this or that, or a stupid mistake, or a card that costs somebody. I hope it's just an absolute battle. And well, let's face it, I want Scotland to come out. I think it would be it would be huge. It would be our biggest win against South Africa, no question.
I think it would be up there with. It would certainly be the biggest win of Gregor's time.
It would be the biggest win that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, you're totally right. You'll like this though, because you were surprised that we had viewers in South Africa, but
dziękuję, yeah. That's thank you in Polish. It's one of the most beautiful sounding words ever. Dziękuję means thank you in Polish.
It is. I thought very good. And another comment here: 7-1 split, shaking the Scots lads. I think.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Mazzoli, you can shake me up anytime. The 7-1 split is shaking the Scots lads. I love that. I've never heard that phrase before, but now I'm shaking.
You've turned into like a strictly judge now.
Oh, I wish. I just wish I could dance.
No serious injuries in a good game. Box by 10, says TJ.
TJ, you were doing so well, my man, and then you just blew it at the end. You absolutely blew it. We're right. I love your sentiment. No serious injuries, no HIA, no nonsense, no Razzie with flags or traffic lights or secret messages on the water bottles, or we just want Razzie to be Razzie.
Do you know the other thing I think that's worth saying, Bruce? I think from a Scottish point of view, and this is going to sound really negative because I obviously would like to see Scotland win. But
this is when folk go, no offence, but I'm about to offend you.
Yeah, like I actually just want us to play well. I just want Scotland to fire a few shots.
Shut up. I'll take an absolute shocker and a 6-3 win. In fact, I'll take a 6-5. I'll let them score the only try.
Yeah, totally. But I think if Scotland get beat and don't impose themselves on the game and don't show that they've got something about them like they didn't in the game against Ireland at the World Cup, I think there'll be questions asked. I said that during the week. There'll be questions asked again about, can this team get to the next level? We've talked about the Six Nations, and England are getting better. Ireland are flying. You know,
France are decent. Italy are getting better, and Wales can't keep being that bad.
Yeah, and then,
no, I hear you, and that's what I mean. If we get something at this game, it's the biggest for a game that means nothing.
Bruce, I'm not sure what this says about the two of us.
Teacher A, is that Teacher Al or is that Teacher AL your initials? Can we have English subtitles? I could reply to that, and if you don't understand what we are saying, you would have no clue what I'm saying about you, Teacher AL.
This one as well, is it going to rain? I think that's...
No, we're in Edinburgh in Scotland. It's always blue sky and sunshine, even at 4:10 on a November evening.
But if it rains, whose hands does that play in?
And I hate this rubbish. This will suit us more. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
I don't think the weather being bad helps Scotland at all.
No.
I think if the game starts to go down that route of
you can't multitask, yeah. You can't multitask. You'd be rubbish on the telly. You couldn't have an earpiece and rodeo. It is brutal. You're absolutely right.
It is brutal.
You're absolutely right. 7-1 is what's his name? Matt Williams will be going bananas about that. Remember Matt Williams?
I think that's
Ruben Ice. What movie are you in? You have to be some kind of rap star with a name like Ruben Ice. I'll tell you who that is. That's Vanilla's brother.
Oh dear, dearie me. We're back. Proud of South African. I think
I thought he meant me.
One of the best fly halves in the world.
On the Scotland Rugby News podcast, and then he goes and puts Finn Russell. He is a magician.
Thankfully, YouTube wasn't around in the days of your attempts at playing.
Yeah. Oh, didn't he?
An awful lot of your man.
Oh, white gloves through here, fella.
What the Scottish people have done to the English language should be admired and respected. I think we're probably going off.
MB is a far more highbrow one of our listeners and watchers. Good on you, MB. How have these people found us? Like, are they just scrolling through YouTube and going, "There's two bald guys. Let's tune into them"?
Well, hang on a minute. I take offence. I'm not completely bald yet.
The angle of your camera needs adjusted, then, my man, because all I can see is forehead. Miami. Welcome to Miami. Hey, how happy are you? How happy are you with the? No, let's not go there.
Yeah, let's not go there.
MB, do you know what, MB? I've not been to Miami, but I used to play for the Albany Knickerbockers in the Major League.
which, by the way, is an incredible name for a rugby team.
Go the Knicks. Go the Knicks. Happy days.
I'm not going to share this. MB's come back and said he thinks the attraction of watching us play on a podcast is that he is also bald.
So I was going to say it's him saying it makes him feel better.
It's great.
I'm quite good for other people's self-esteem. That's what we're getting here. Right. You said this started seriously, and it's deteriorated into a popularity contest with viewers on YouTube. Scotland are going to win by 10.
Talking about Strictly Come Dancing.
That's important though, because you got to vote for Wyn Evans, who connected with me on LinkedIn today.
And did you connect with Ken Owens?
Aye, the sheriff,
who was at Strictly. I think
was he? Because that's because he's pals with Wyn.
Yeah,
Ken Owens, Ray Gravel passed on, and this is really bad. If there's anybody Welsh watching, they would hang me up. But Ray Gravel was this really important figure in Welsh, and he handed it on, I think, to Ken Owens.
Incredible.
Proper amazing guy. Right, let's get going and enjoy your weekend. Good to see you. Have fun on Sunday. I'm going to spend some time with Chunk at Indigo Yard, watching the game and having some fun. But if we win, I'll still be there till I get told I need to come home.
Quite right. And let's hope we're both celebrating a Scotland win. Whether it's very likely or not, I'm not sure, but we can live in hope.
And tune in next week if you're in Poland, Miami, South Africa at Betty's Bay, or my mum in Portobello. Make sure you tune in again next week. He's been Gavin Harper. Subscribe now, £4 for 4 months. All the good stuff from him, stuff from me sometimes, and then you get to watch this for free. But that's the best kind. See you all soon. Have a great weekend. Come on, Scotland!